A man who protects one of ours becomes one of ours. That's what Big Victor Hayes said the moment he watched the video. But nobody in that small Texas town knew what was coming. Nobody realized that $8 would shake the ground beneath their feet. Before we dive into this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because what you're about to hear will restore your faith in humanity. And drop a comment telling me what city you are watching from. I want to see how far this story travels across the world. Now let's begin. The fluorescent lights inside the stop-and-go gas station buzzed like dying insects. It was 11:47 p.m. and the cold had teeth. Daniel Harper sat in the corner booth near the coffee machine, his calloused hands wrapped around a styrofoam cup that had gone cold an hour ago. The coffee was terrible, burnt, stale, but it was warm once, and that's all that mattered when you're 58 years old and sleeping behind dumpsters. His jacket, a faded army surplus thing, with a broken zipper, hung loose on his shoulders. Beneath it, 3 layers of shirts that didn't match. His boots had holes in them. Duct tape held the left sole together. His beard was gray and patchy, and his eyes carried the kind of exhaustion that sleep couldn't fix. The cashier, a kid named Tommy, maybe 19, glanced at Daniel every few minutes like he was checking if a stray dog was still there. Other customers walked past without looking. That's how it worked. Homeless meant invisible. Daniel didn't mind anymore. Invisibility was safer than the stairs. The door chimed. A giant walked in. Ryan Cole stood 6'4" and weighed at least 250. His leather vest was covered in patches. Big ones. Hell's Angels across the back in bold letters. Smaller ones on the front. Texas, Nomad, and a patch that simply read, Brother. His boots hit the tile floor like hammers. His blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail. Tattoos covered both arms, snakes, skulls, engines, names of the dead. His jaw was hard. His eyes were harder, but his hands were shaking. Ryan walked straight to the baby aisle. He grabbed formula, the expensive kind, and Famille, then diapers, size 2, a bottle of infant Tylenol, milk, Pedialyte. He moved fast, desperate. At the counter, he unloaded everything. Tommy's eyes went wide. His hand drifted toward the edge of the register where the panic button sat hidden. That'll be $63.40, Tommy said quietly. Ryan pulled out a black credit card and slid it across. Tommy swiped. The machine beeped. Declined. Ryan's jaw tightened. Try it again. Tommy swiped again. Declined. There's money on that card, Ryan said. His voice was low, controlled, but there was a crack forming. Maybe it's the machine, Tommy offered weakly. Then use a different machine. We only got one. Ryan pulled out another card, blue this time. He put it down hard. Try this. Tommy swiped, declined. A woman in line behind Ryan whispered to her husband, should we leave? The husband nodded. They backed toward the door. Ryan didn't look at them. He pulled out his phone and dialed. It rang and rang, voicemail. He tried another number, same thing. He tried a third, nothing. His chest rose and fell. His daughter was sick, burning up with fever. His wife was home with her right now, frantic. He'd ridden 40 minutes on his bike in freezing wind to find a store still open. And now, sir. Tommy's voice was small. Do you have cash? Ryan looked at him. If I had cash, I wouldn't be standing here swiping cards. I'm sorry, man. I can't just... My daughter's sick, Ryan's voice cracked. She's 10 months old and she's burning up, and I need this formula. Tommy's hand was now hovering directly over the panic button. I understand, but... No, you don't. An older man near the soda fountain muttered, Figures. Ryan turned his head slowly. What did you say? The man looked away. Coward. A young woman by the chips pulled out her phone and started recording. Ryan noticed. Everyone noticed. His pride, the kind that held men like him together, started crumbling. He could feel it. The stares, the judgment, the fear in their eyes when they looked at the patches on his vest. Not because of who he was, because of what he looked like. Please, Ryan said quietly. He wasn't talking to Tommy anymore. He was talking to the room. I just need to get this home to my little girl. Silence. Nobody moved. That's when Daniel stood up. His knees popped. His back ached. But he walked forward slow and steady across that dirty tile floor. People stepped past him like he carried disease. Daniel reached the counter and pulled out a small, wrinkled envelope from his coat pocket. Inside were 8 $1 bills. crumpled, soft from being folded and unfolded 1,000 times. It was everything he had. He placed them on the counter next to the formula. The store went dead silent. Tommy stared. Ryan stared. The girl with the phone kept recording. "That's $8, Daniel said. His voice was rough, quiet. "I got $8. Tommy blinked. "Sir, the total is 63. "I know what the total is, son." Daniel looked at Ryan. "How much do you got?" Ryan's throat worked. "Nothing. I got nothing." Daniel turned to the room. His eyes swept across every face. The woman by the door, the man by the sodas, the kid by the candy aisle. "Anybody else want to help?" Daniel asked. Nobody spoke. Daniel nodded slowly, like he'd expected it. Funny how people judge a man before they ever learn what he's fighting for. He turned back to Ryan. "Take the formula. Take the medicine. I'll cover what I can. Tommy here can put the rest on store credit or whatever the hell he needs to do to make this right." "I can't do that," Tommy whispered. "Then call your manager." "He'll get mad." "Then he gets mad." Daniel's voice didn't rise. Didn't need to. "But this man's daughter needs medicine, and I got $8 to start with. So let's start." Ryan's eyes were wet. "I don't even know you." "Don't need to." "Why would you?" "Because somebody should." Ryan's breath hitched. He looked down at the $8, then at Daniel, then at the formula. His hands were still shaking, but now for a different reason. "Thank you," Ryan whispered. "Don't thank me yet. Just get home to your girl." Tommy looked between them, panicked. Then he made a decision. He grabbed the formula, the Tylenol, the milk, and shoved them into a bag. "Take it. Just take it and go." Ryan grabbed the bag. He looked at Daniel one more time. "I don't forget debts." "Ain't it a debt?" Daniel said. "It's just $8. But Ryan's face said it wasn't just $8. It was dignity, respect, something nobody had given him all night. Ryan walked out. The door chimed. The rumble of his motorcycle shook the windows, and then he was gone. Daniel turned back toward his booth, but Tommy stopped him. That was really something, man." Daniel shrugged. "It was $8. "Still, that was good." Daniel didn't respond. He walked back to his cold coffee and sat down. The girl with the phone was still recording. She lowered it slowly, staring at Daniel like she'd seen a ghost. Nobody said a word. 5 minutes later, Daniel got up, threw his empty cup away, and walked out into the freezing night. He had no money, no food, nowhere warm to sleep. But somewhere 40 minutes away, a little girl was getting her medicine. That's all that mattered. Morning came hard and cold. Daniel woke up behind the dumpster near Rosie's Diner at 5:30 a.m. when the garbage truck showed up. The driver didn't look at him. Nobody ever did. He walked 6 blocks to the community center, where they had showers for homeless folks twice a week, Wednesday and Saturday. Today was Thursday, so the doors were locked. He used the bathroom at McDonald's instead. Washed his face in the sink, tried to finger comb his hair. The woman at the counter gave him a look when he walked out without buying anything. Daniel spent the day like he spent every day, walking, sitting, trying to stay warm. At 2 p.m., he went to the public library because it was warm, and nobody kicked him out as long as he didn't sleep. He sat near the radiator and read newspapers people left behind. Page 3 had an article about the city council approving a new shopping plaza downtown. The developer's name made Daniel's stomach turn. Marcus Hale, the man who destroyed him. Daniel closed the newspaper and stared at the wall. 13 years ago, Daniel Harper owned Harper & Sons Construction. It wasn't the biggest company in town, but it was the most respected. Daniel built homes, schools, community centers. He hired local crews, paid fair wages, never cut corners. When the city announced the new fire station project, they chose Daniel's company to build it. It was the biggest contract he'd ever landed. $3 million, 6 months of work. Daniel was so proud he cried when he got the call. His son Luke was 18 then, just graduated high school. Daniel hired him on the crew to teach him the trade. They worked side by side every day, pouring concrete, framing walls. Luke learned fast. Daniel's wife Marie would bring them lunch on Thursdays, sandwiches and sweet tea. They'd sit in the truck bed and talk about the future. Luke was thinking about college, maybe engineering. Marie wanted to open a bakery once the fire station was finished and the money came through. Everything was perfect. Then the fire happened. It was a Tuesday. Inspection day. Daniel wasn't even on site. He was meeting with the city supervisor at town hall going over final permits. Luke was running the crew. At 3:47 p.m. an electrical fire started in the new fire station's west wing. The wiring, brand new, installed 2 days prior, sparked inside the walls. Within minutes, the entire structure was burning. Luke got everyone out. Nobody died. But the building was destroyed. The fire marshal investigated. His report said the wiring was faulty, substandard materials, dangerous installation. The blame fell on Harper and Sons Construction. Daniel denied it. He'd used the same electrical supplier for 15 years. Top-grade wire, licensed electricians. Everything was documented. But Marcus Hale, the city's biggest developer, and the man who'd bid against Daniel for the contract started spreading rumors. Harper cut corners. Harper used cheap materials to pocket the difference. Harper put lives at risk. It didn't matter that none of it was true. The rumors spread faster than the fire had. The city pulled the contract, demanded Daniel return the advance payment, threatened to sue. Other clients started canceling projects. Suppliers stopped returning calls. Within 3 months, Harper and Sons Construction was bankrupt. Daniel lost the business, then the house. Marie left him 6 months later, said she couldn't handle the shame. The stares at the grocery store, the whispers at church. Luke stopped speaking to him entirely. "You destroyed our family," Luke had said the last time they spoke. "Everything we had, gone, because you got greedy." "Don't lie to me, Dad." Luke walked out. Daniel hadn't seen him in 13 years. The town forgot about Daniel after that, or maybe they just decided he wasn't worth remembering. He bounced between shelters, friends' couches, and finally the streets. Nobody from his old life checked on him. Not one. The same people who'd shaken his hand at church, who'd invited him to barbecues, who'd called him a pillar of the community, they all looked away when they saw him on the sidewalk now. Daniel Harper became invisible. By Thursday afternoon, Daniel's $8 had become something much bigger. The girl with the phone, her name was Becca. 17 years old, TikTok addict, had posted the video from the gas station. She'd filmed the whole thing, Daniel placing his money down, the speech about judgment, Ryan taking the medicine. She captioned it, "Homeless man gives his last $88 to a biker everyone was scared of. This is what humanity looks like." By noon, it had 20,000 views. By 3 p.m., 200,000. By sunset, it was viral. National news picked it up. Local stations scrambled to identify the homeless man. Someone recognized the gas station. Then someone else recognized Daniel. "That's Daniel Harper," an old woman commented. "He used to build half this town." "What happened to him?" someone replied. "He got what he deserved," another commenter wrote. But others disagreed. "He gave his last money to a stranger. That's a good man. We ran him out of town and left him to rot. Maybe we got what we deserved." The comments section became a war. Meanwhile, 1,200 miles away in Tucson, Arizona, inside a Hells Angels clubhouse that smelled like leather and motor oil, Big Victor Hayes sat in a cracked leather chair watching the video on his phone. Victor was 62 years old, president of the Nomad Charter. He'd been riding for 43 years. He'd buried 17 brothers. He'd been shot twice, stabbed once, and had broken more bones than he could count. But watching that video made him cry. Ryan Cole stood next to him. He'd ridden through the night to get here, to explain, to confess. "That man saved me, Vic," Ryan said quietly. "Not just from embarrassment, from losing the last piece of pride I had left. I was going to walk out of that store without the medicine, let my daughter suffer, because I couldn't handle another person looking at me like I was trash." Victor didn't look up from the phone. "Who is he?" "I don't know, some homeless guy." "Find out." Ryan nodded. 3 hours later, Ryan called back. "His name's Daniel Harper, 58, Army vet. Used to own a construction company here in Texas. Lost everything about 13 years ago. Lives on the streets now." Victor was quiet for a long time. Then he stood up. His knees popped. His back ached, but his voice was iron. "Call the charters. Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Louisiana. I want every brother who can ride ready by sunrise." "Vic, that's every brother." Ryan swallowed. "What are we doing?" Victor looked at him. His eyes were hard, but wet. "A man who protects one of ours. becomes one of ours. And by Friday morning, the video had 15 million views. Daniel didn't know. He woke up behind the dumpster like always, walked to the McDonald's like always, spent the afternoon at the library like always. But people were starting to recognize him. A teenage boy stopped him outside the post office. "Hey, are you the guy from the video?" "I know." Daniel frowned. "What video?" "The one where you helped the biker." "Dude, you're famous." Daniel walked away. He didn't want fame. He wanted $8 so he could eat today. At 4 p.m., a woman approached him near the park. She handed him a $20 bill. "Thank you for what you did. You're a good man." Daniel stared at the money. "I didn't do anything special." "You did more than most people would." She walked away before he could respond. By evening, 3 more people had given him money, a 10, another 20, $5 in quarters from a kid who couldn't have been older than 8. Daniel sat on the bench near the courthouse, staring at the cash in his hands. He didn't understand what was happening. But 1,200 miles away, 473 motorcycles were leaving Tucson, Phoenix, Albuquerque, El Paso, and Shreveport. They were all heading to the same small Texas town. Daniel didn't sleep that night, not because of the cold, not because of the concrete beneath him, but because something felt wrong. 3 people had recognized him. 5 had given him money. A teenager had called him famous. Daniel Harper hadn't been famous for anything except failure in 13 years, and now strangers were handing him cash and saying thank you. It didn't make sense. At 5 a.m., he gave up trying to sleep and walked to the 7-Eleven on Maple Street. The same clerk who usually ignored him actually smiled when Daniel walked in. "Coffee's on me today," the clerk said. Daniel stopped. "What? Just take it, man. You earned it." "Earned what?" The clerk pulled out his phone and turned it toward Daniel. The video played. Daniel watched himself walk to that counter, watched himself put down $8, heard his own voice say the words about judgment. The view counter at the bottom read 22.4 million. Daniel's hands started shaking. "How many people have seen this?" "Basically everyone with internet." The clerk grinned. "You're a hero, dude." Daniel set the coffee down, walked out, didn't take it. Heroes don't sleep behind dumpsters. By 6 a.m., Daniel was sitting on the bench near the old courthouse trying to process what was happening. The sun was coming up. The town was waking up. And somewhere out there, 22 million people had watched him give away the last money he had. A police car pulled up. Officer Derek Mills stepped out. Derek was 35, born and raised in this town. His father had worked on Daniel's construction crew 15 years ago before the fire happened. "Morning, Daniel," Derek said carefully. "Morning. You okay?" Define okay. Derek sat down next to him on the bench. He didn't say anything for a minute. Then he pulled out his phone and showed Daniel the screen. News articles, ABC, CNN, Fox, all running the same story, all using the same video. "You've got the whole country talking," Derek said. "I don't want the whole country talking." Little late for that. Derek pocketed his phone. "Look, I'm going to be straight with you. This town's about to get real busy real fast. Reporters are already calling the station asking where to find you. News vans are coming. This is going to be a circus." Daniel closed his eyes. "I just wanted to help someone buy baby formula." "I know." Derek stood up. "But that's not how this works anymore. You're a story now, and stories don't get to stay private." He walked back to his car, paused, then turned around. "My dad always said you were the most honest man he ever worked for. Said you got screwed over by people who didn't deserve to shine your boots." Daniel looked up. "Your dad said that?" "Yeah, he did, right up until the day he died." Derek got in his car. "Thought you should know." He drove away. Daniel sat there alone trying to figure out what came next. But before he could think, a silver Toyota pulled up and a woman in her 50s got out. She was wearing a business suit. Her hair was pulled back tight. She had the look of someone who'd been up all night. "Daniel Harper," she asked. "Who's asking?" "My name is Sharon Vickers. I'm a reporter with Channel 9 News out of Dallas. I'd love to talk to you about what happened at the gas station." Nothing happened. 23 million people think differently. 23 million people weren't there. Sharon smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who smelled a story and wasn't leaving without it. "I'll pay you $500 for 15 minutes. Just talk to me about why you gave that biker your last $8. Not interested. 1,000. Still not interested. Daniel, people want to hear from you. They want to know who you are, why you did what you did. Daniel stood up. His knees popped. His back ached. Lady, I did what any decent person should do. That's the story. Now leave me alone. He walked away. Sharon called after him. People are saying you're a hero. Daniel stopped, turned around. Heroes don't end up homeless, lady. Heroes get parades. I got a dumpster and a bench. There's a difference. He kept walking. But Sharon wasn't the last. By 8 a.m., 2 more reporters had found him. By 9 a.m., it was 5. Daniel spent the entire morning walking through alleys and side streets trying to avoid cameras. It didn't work. They followed him like dogs after meat. At 10 a.m., he ducked into the public library, hoping they wouldn't follow him inside. They didn't. Libraries had rules about filming. Daniel sat in his usual spot near the radiator and put his head in his hands. Daniel. He looked up. Mrs. Patricia Weston stood in front of him. She was 72 years old. Moshkam. White hair, kind eyes. She'd been the head librarian for 40 years. She'd known Daniel back when he was somebody. Hello, Patricia. I saw the video. Everyone saw the video. She sat down next to him. What you did was beautiful. It was $8. It was more than that. Patricia reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. This came to the library this morning. It's addressed to you. Daniel frowned. How does anyone know I come here? People remember more than you think. She handed him the envelope. Daniel opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter on expensive paper. Daniel, my name is Robert Chen. I'm a veteran. Marine Corps 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. I saw what you did for that biker. I know what it's like to have nothing and still give everything. Enclosed is $500. It's not charity. It's respect. Use it however you need. Semper Fi. $500 bills were folded inside. Daniel's hands shook. I can't take this. You already did, Patricia said gently. And there's more. She pulled out another envelope, then another, then 5 more. These all came today, Kitty, Daniel whispered. In the last 2 hours, people are mailing them here because they know you spend time in the library. Daniel, you've touched something in people. They want to help. Daniel stared at the envelopes. There had to be thousands of dollars sitting in front of him. Maybe more. Money from strangers. From people who'd watched him give away $8 and decided he deserved something back. He started crying. Patricia put her hand on his shoulder and didn't say a word. She just sat with him while he broke down in the back corner of the library where nobody could see. When he finally stopped, Patricia handed him a tissue. What are you going to do? I don't know. Well, you can start by cashing those checks and getting yourself a warm place to sleep. Daniel nodded, but he didn't move. Because accepting money felt like accepting pity, and pity was something Daniel had learned to survive without. By noon, the town square was packed. News vans lined the streets. Reporters did stand-ups in front of the courthouse. Helicopters flew overhead. The mayor held an impromptu press conference on the courthouse steps talking about the spirit of community and small-town values. Nobody mentioned that the same town had ignored Daniel Harper for 13 years. Daniel avoided the square entirely. He walked a long way around through residential streets where reporters weren't looking. But even there, people recognized him. Some waved, some shouted encouragement. One older man stopped his car and rolled down the window. You're a good man, Daniel Harper, the man yelled. Daniel didn't respond, just kept walking. At 2 p.m., he ended up at Rosie's Diner. He hadn't eaten since yesterday. The envelopes in his pocket felt heavy. Wrong, but his stomach was cramping and his head felt light and he needed food. Inside the diner was half full. Conversation stopped when Daniel walked in. Every head turned. Rosie herself, a heavy woman in her 60s who'd run the place for 30 years, came out from behind the counter. Daniel Harper, she said, and Rosie, sit down anywhere you want. Daniel hesitated. I can pay. I know you can, but you ain't going to. Not today. She pointed at a booth by the window. Daniel sat. Rosie brought him coffee without asking. Then she brought him a plate of eggs, bacon, hash browns, and toast. More food than Daniel had seen in weeks. Rosie, this is too much. Eat it anyway. I don't need— Daniel Harper, you listen to me. Rosie leaned down and looked him in the eye. You've been eating trash and drinking cold and coffee for years while this town pretended you didn't exist. Today, you're going to sit in my diner and eat a hot meal like a human being. And if anyone's got a problem with that, they can take it up with me. Her voice was loud enough that the whole diner heard. Nobody said a word. Daniel ate. Every bite tasted like forgiveness he didn't deserve. Halfway through, a man walked in. Tall, thin, wearing an expensive suit. Daniel recognized him immediately. Marcus Hale, the man who'd destroyed him. Marcus saw Daniel and stopped. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither man moved. Then Marcus walked over and stood next to the booth. Daniel. Marcus. I saw the video, very touching. Daniel set his fork down. What do you want? Just wanted to say congratulations. Seems like you finally found a way to matter again. Playing the hero for the cameras. Smart move. The diner went silent. Everyone was listening now. Daniel's jaw tightened. I didn't do it for cameras. Of course not. Marcus smiled. It was a cruel smile. You did it because you're broke and desperate and thought maybe if you gave away your last few dollars, someone might notice you again. Well, congratulations. It worked. Enjoy your 15 minutes. Rosie's stepping forward. Marcus, you need to leave. This is a public establishment, and I'm the owner. Get out. Marcus looked at her, then back at Daniel. See you around, Harper. Try not to spend all that charity money in one place. He walked out. The diner stayed quiet. Daniel's hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. The kind of rage that had been building for 13 years and had nowhere to go. Rosie put her hand on his shoulder. Ignore him. Hard to ignore the man who ruined your life. I know, honey, I know. Daniel finished his meal in silence. When he tried to leave money on the table, Rosie pushed it back. I meant what I said, not today. Daniel walked out into the afternoon sun. The reporters had found him again. Cameras, microphones, questions shouted from every direction. Daniel, how does it feel to be called a hero? What made you give your last money to a stranger? Do you have a message for America? Daniel kept walking, didn't answer, didn't look at them, just moved through the crowd like water around stones. Then someone grabbed his arm. Daniel turned. A young man with a camera, early 20s, eager eyes. Please, sir, just one question. Why did you do it? Daniel looked at him, really looked at him. The kid wasn't trying to exploit him. He genuinely wanted to know. Because someone had to, Daniel said quietly. But why you had nothing. That's exactly why. When you got nothing, you understand what nothing feels like. And you do whatever you can to keep someone else from feeling it too. The kid lowered his camera. That's beautiful, man. Daniel walked away, but the clip would be on every news channel by evening. The quote would be printed in newspapers, shared on social media, turned into memes and motivational posters. Daniel Harper's words would matter to millions, but to Daniel, they were just the truth. By 4 p.m., Daniel was exhausted, emotionally, physically. He found a quiet spot near the old railroad tracks where nobody would look for him and sat down on the gravel. His phone, a cheap burner he'd bought 2 years ago, buzzed. He had 17 missed calls, all unknown numbers, probably reporters. But one voicemail caught his attention. The number had a 520 area code, Arizona. Daniel played it. Mr. Harper, my name is Victor Hayes. You don't know me, but you helped one of my brothers 2 nights ago at a gas station. His name is Ryan Cole. He told me what you did. I'm calling because I want to thank you personally and because I want you to know that what you did means more than you realize. Brothers take care of brothers, and you became a brother the moment you protected one of ours. I'm heading your way with some friends. We'll be there tomorrow morning. Don't go anywhere. The message ended. Daniel played it again. Then a third time. Brothers take care of brothers. He didn't understand what that meant, but something in Victor's voice made the hair on Daniel's neck stand up. Tomorrow morning. Daniel looked at the horizon. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and purple. Somewhere out there, people were coming. He didn't know why, but he could feel it. Something was about to change. By nightfall, Daniel was back behind the dumpster near Rosie's diner. He tried to rent a motel room with some of the money people had sent, but every room in town was booked. Reporters, news crews, Curiosity seekers? So he was back where he started. Cold concrete, thin blanket, the smell of garbage. But this time, something was different. This time, he wasn't invisible anymore. At 11 p.m., Derek Mills pulled up in his patrol car. He got out and walked over. "You shouldn't be out here, Daniel." "Where else am I gonna go?" Derek sighed. "Come on. You can sleep in the holding cell tonight. It's warm. Got a cot." "I'm not getting arrested." "You're not. You're my guest. There's a difference." Daniel hesitated. Then he stood up. His back screamed, his knees popped. But he followed Derek to the car. Inside the station, Derek set him up in the back cell. It smelled like disinfectant and old coffee, but it was warm. The cot had a real mattress, a pillow. "Thank you," Daniel said. Derek nodded. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." "Why?" "Just a feeling." Derek locked the cell door not because he had to, but because protocol demanded it, and walked back to the front desk. Daniel lay down on the cot, closed his eyes, and for the first time in months, he slept without waking up every hour from the cold. At 5:47 a.m., the sound started. Daniel woke up, sat up, listened. It was faint at first, distant, like thunder rolling in from far away. Then it got louder and louder. Derek ran into the back room. His face was pale. "Daniel, get up." "What's happening?" "I don't know, but you need to see this." Derek unlocked the cell. Daniel followed him to the front of the station. Through the windows, he could see the street. It was still dark. The sun wasn't up yet, but the sound was deafening now. Engines, hundreds of them. Then they appeared. Motorcycles, more than Daniel had ever seen in his life. They came from every direction. North, south, east, west, chrome gleaming in the streetlights. Leather, patches, flags, Hell's Angels. They rolled into town like an army. One after another, after another. The sound shook the windows, shook the walls, shook Daniel's chest. Derek grabbed his radio. "We got a situation. I need backup at Main Street. Now." But the motorcycles didn't stop. They kept coming, filling the streets, lining up in formation, engines idling like growling beasts. Daniel stepped outside. The cold air hit his face. The sun was starting to rise behind the buildings, turning the sky pink and gold. And then he saw him, a massive man on a massive bike, gray beard, leather vest covered in patches. He pulled up in front of the station and killed his engine. The silence that followed was louder than the noise. The man got off his bike, walked toward Daniel. His boots hit the pavement like hammers. He stopped 3 feet away and looked Daniel in the eye. "You Daniel Harper?" "Yeah." The man stuck out his hand. "Victor Hayes, president of the Nomad Charter. You helped one of my brothers." Daniel shook his hand. Victor's grip could crush stone. "I just gave him $8. "You gave him more than that." Victor turned and gestured at the hundreds of bikers behind him. "You gave him his dignity. And when you do that for one of ours, you do it for all of us." Daniel looked at the sea of motorcycles. There had to be 500 of them, maybe more. "What are you doing here?" Daniel asked. Victor smiled. "We came to return the favor." Daniel's throat went dry. Return the favor. 500 bikers had just rolled into his town to return the favor for $8. "I don't understand," Daniel said. Victor stepped closer. "You protected Ryan when nobody else would. You gave him respect when everyone else gave him fear. That matters to us. That matters to me." Behind Victor, Ryan Cole stepped forward. He looked different in daylight, younger somehow. His eyes were wet. "I went home that night and held my daughter," Ryan said. "She was sleeping. Fever broke around 3 in the morning. And I kept thinking about you, about what you did, and I realized something. You didn't see my vest. You didn't see the patches. You just saw a father who needed help." Daniel's voice cracked. "Any decent person would have done the same." "But they didn't," Victor said. "That whole store full of people. They all saw, they all heard, and every single one of them looked away. Except you." Derek stepped forward carefully. His hand was near his weapon. "Gentlemen, I appreciate what you're trying to do here, but we've got about 500 motorcycles blocking Main Street, and the whole town's about to wake up. Can we maybe—" "We're not here to cause trouble, officer," Victor said calmly. "We're here to help a brother." He's not your brother. He is now. The statement hung in the air like smoke. Derek looked at Daniel. Daniel looked back helpless. What exactly are you planning to do? Derek asked. Victor pulled an envelope from inside his vest. Thick, heavy, he handed it to Daniel. Open it. Daniel's hands shook as he tore it open. Inside was a stack of papers. Legal documents. His eyes scanned the first page and his breath stopped. Property deed. For the land where his construction company used to stand. The land the bank had seized 13 years ago. The land that had been sitting empty ever since. How did you... We bought it yesterday, Victor said. Paid cash. It's yours again. Daniel couldn't breathe. The papers fell from his hands. Victor caught them. Why, Daniel whispered, because you gave Ryan his dignity. Now we're giving you yours. Daniel's legs went weak. He grabbed the wall of the police station to steady himself. I can't accept this. You already did. Papers are signed, property's in your name. Nothing you can do about it now. But I don't have money to build anything. I can't. Victor smiled. Who said you were building it alone? He turned and raised his hand. 500 bikers killed their engines in perfect unison. The silence was deafening. Then Victor shouted, Brothers, we came here to rebuild what was stolen from one of our own. Harper Construction rises today. The roar that followed shook the buildings, fists in the air, voices screaming, engines firing back up. The sound was like a war cry. Daniel felt tears streaming down his face. He couldn't stop them, couldn't speak, couldn't process what was happening. Derek was already on his radio. Chief, we've got a situation. You need to get down here now. By 6:30 a.m., the entire town was awake. Police cars blocked off Main Street. News helicopters circled overhead. Reporters scrambled to get footage of 500 Hells Angels bikers gathered in front of the old Harper construction lot. The mayor arrived in his pajamas. Mayor Edward Finch, 61 years old, 3 terms in office. He looked at the sea of leather and chrome, and his face went white. What in God's name is happening here? Victor walked over. Morning, Mayor. Victor Hayes. We're here to help Daniel Harper rebuild his business. You can't just... You need permits, inspections. You can't... Already filed for them. Should be approved by Monday. The mayor blinked. How did you... We have lawyers too, Mayor. Good ones. Edward looked at Daniel. Is this what you want? Daniel couldn't find words. He nodded. This is insane, Edward muttered. Absolutely insane. But he didn't try to stop it. Nobody could. By 7 a.m., the bikers had unloaded trucks full of tools, lumber, and equipment. They'd brought everything. Generators, nail guns, saws, cement mixers. It was a construction site before the sun fully rose. Victor pulled Daniel aside. You're going to run this. Tell us what you need. We'll make it happen. I haven't run a crew in 13 years. Then today you start again. Daniel looked at the empty lot, the place where his dreams had died, where his life had fallen apart, and now 500 strangers were about to rebuild it. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything. Just tell us where to start. Daniel took a breath, then another. Then he walked to the center of the lot and looked at the land. His land. For the first time in 13 years, something inside him stirred. Not hope, not yet, but something close. Foundation first, Daniel said. His voice was stronger now. We need to clear this lot and pour a new foundation. Everything else builds from there. Victor nodded. You heard him. Let's move. The bikers exploded into action. They worked like a machine. Some cleared debris, some unloaded materials. Some started marking ground for the foundation. Within 20 minutes, the lot looked like a professional construction site. Daniel stood in the middle of it all, watching. He felt like he was dreaming. Then a voice behind him said, Daddy. Daniel froze. That voice, he knew that voice, but it couldn't be. Not after 13 years. He turned around. Luke Harper stood 10 feet away. 31 years old now, taller than Daniel remembered. Broader. He had Marie's eyes and Daniel's jaw. His hair was shorter. He wore work boots and jeans and a flannel shirt. He looked like the man Daniel had tried to raise him to be. Daniel's voice broke. Luke, I saw the video. Luke's voice was shaking. I saw what you did for that biker. And I realized something. You've been giving everything you have to strangers for 13 years. And I never once asked if you needed anything. Luke, I'm sorry, Dad. Luke's face crumpled. I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have stood by you, but I was scared and stupid, and I blamed you for everything that went wrong. And you've been alone this whole time because of me. Daniel crossed the distance between them in 3 steps and pulled his son into his arms. Luke collapsed against him, sobbing. Daniel held him the way he used to when Luke was a boy and the world felt too big. It's okay, Daniel whispered. It's okay, son. It's not okay. I abandoned you. You were a kid. You believed what everyone else believed. I should have known better. Luke pulled back. His face was red and wet. You're my father. I should have trusted you. You're here now. That's what matters. Luke wiped his face. I want to help. I want to be part of this. If you'll let me. Daniel's chest felt like it might explode. You sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Daniel grabbed his son's shoulder, squeezed hard. Then he turned to Victor. Got room for one more, Victor smiled. Always got room for family. Luke walked onto the lot and grabbed a shovel. Within minutes, he was working alongside the bikers like he'd been there all along. Daniel watched his son work and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Pride, not in himself, but in the man Luke had become despite everything. By 9 a.m., the town square was packed with people watching from a distance. Some were curious, some were angry, some were confused, but everyone was watching. Marcus Hale stood near the courthouse steps. His arms were crossed. His face was hard. He watched the construction site like a man watching his empire crumble. This is ridiculous, Marcus muttered to his assistant. Who the hell do these bikers think they are? Sir, the news is calling it the biggest grassroots construction effort in Texas history. It's a publicity stunt. Maybe, but people are donating. Money's pouring in online. They're calling Harper a hero. Marcus's jaw clenched. He's not a hero. He's a fraud who cut corners and burned down a fire station. Sir, there's been talk. What talk? The assistant hesitated. Some people are saying you might have had something to do with that fire, that you framed him. Marcus turned sharply. Who's saying that? It's just rumors, sir. Shut them down. I don't care how. Shut them down now. But rumors don't die easy, not in small towns, and not when the whole country is watching. By 10 a.m., a woman named Janet Pierce arrived at the construction site. She was 68 years old, retired. She'd worked as a secretary at City Hall for 40 years before retiring 5 years ago. She walked up to Daniel while he was marking foundation lines. Mr. Harper. Daniel looked up. Yes, ma'am. My name is Janet Pierce. I don't know if you remember me. I'm sorry I don't. I worked at City Hall when the fire happened. I was the secretary for the fire marshal's office. She paused, took a breath. I need to tell you something. Something I should have said 13 years ago. Daniel stood up slowly. What is it? The fire marshal's report, the one that blamed your company, it wasn't accurate. Daniel's blood ran cold. What? Marcus Hale paid the fire marshal to alter the findings. I saw the money change hands. I heard them talking. Marcus wanted that contract. When you got it instead, he made sure you'd lose everything. The world tilted. Daniel grabbed a nearby post to steady himself. You knew this whole time. Janet's eyes filled with tears. I was scared. Marcus has power in this town. He threatened my pension, my retirement. I kept quiet because I was a coward. But watching what's happening here today, watching these people help you, I realized I can't stay quiet anymore. You deserve the truth. Daniel couldn't speak. His hands were shaking. 13 years. 13 years of being called a fraud, of losing everything, of sleeping on streets, and it was all a lie. Do you have proof? Daniel asked. I have copies of the original report, the real one, before Marcus paid to have it changed. I kept them hidden all these years. I don't know why. Maybe I always knew this day would come. Where are they? In my car. I can bring them to you right now. Daniel nodded. He couldn't trust his voice. Janet walked to her car and returned with a manila folder. Inside were documents. The original fire marshal's report. Notes, photos, everything that proved Daniel Harper had been innocent all along. Victor walked over. What's going on? Daniel handed him the folder. His voice was hollow. I was framed. Marcus Hale paid the fire marshal to blame me for the fire. This woman has proof. Victor's face went dark. He read through the documents quickly. Then he looked at Janet. You're willing to testify to this? Yes, I'll tell anyone who'll listen. It's time Marcus Hale answered for what he did. Victor pulled out his phone and made a call. Yeah, it's Vic. I need a lawyer in Texas. Fast. We've got a case that's about to blow this whole town open. Within an hour, news crews were interviewing Janet Pierce. She told her story on camera. The original fire marshal's report was photographed and sent to every major news outlet in the country. By noon, the story had shifted. It wasn't just about a homeless man helping a biker anymore. It was about corruption, cover-ups, a good man destroyed by greed, and Marcus Hale's name was at the center of it all. Marcus watched the news from his office. His phone rang nonstop. Clients, business partners, lawyers, everyone wanted answers. This is a lie, Marcus said to his attorney. She's making it up. Marcus, she has documents, original reports. This is serious. I don't care how serious it is. Fix it. I can't fix this. If what she's saying is true, you're looking at criminal charges. Fraud, conspiracy. You could go to prison. Marcus slammed his fist on the desk. I am not going to prison for giving that hack what he deserved. But the walls were closing in, and Marcus Hale knew it. Back at the construction site, Daniel sat on a stack of lumber watching his son work. Luke was covered in dirt and sweat. He looked happy, alive. Victor sat down next to Daniel. You doing okay? I don't know what I am. That's fair. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Daniel said, Why did you really come here, Victor? Victor looked at him. I told you, you helped one of ours. There's more to it than that. Victor sighed. You want the truth? Yeah. I lost my son 8 years ago. Overdose. He was 26. Smart kid. Good heart. But he got mixed up with the wrong people, and I couldn't save him. Victor's voice cracked. The night he died, he called me, asked for help, and I was in a meeting. I told him I'd call him back. I never did. By the time I got home, he was gone. Daniel's chest tightened. Victor, I'm sorry. I see my son in every young man who needs help and doesn't get it. And when I saw that video of you giving everything you had to help Ryan, I thought about my boy, about how maybe if someone like you had been there that night, he'd still be alive. Victor wiped his eyes. So yeah, we came here to help you, but we also came here to do what I couldn't do for my own son. Help someone before it's too late. Daniel put his hand on Victor's shoulder. They sat there together. Two broken men trying to rebuild something from nothing. By 2 p.m., the foundation was marked and ready. Concrete trucks arrived. The bikers worked with precision that would have impressed any professional crew. They poured cement, smoothed it, checked levels. They worked until the sun started setting and the foundation was complete. Daniel stood looking at it, the first piece of Harper Construction's rebirth. It was real. It was happening. Ryan walked over. His daughter was with him, 10 months old, big eyes. She reached for Daniel. Her name's Emma, Ryan said. She's feeling a lot better. Daniel's throat closed up. She's beautiful. She's alive because of you. Ryan handed Emma to Daniel. Hold her. She should meet the man who saved her daddy's pride. Daniel took the baby carefully. She looked up at him and smiled, grabbed his finger with her tiny hand. And Daniel Harper, 58 years old, homeless for 13 years, broken and forgotten, started crying. Because this little girl would never know what her father almost lost that night in the gas station. She'd never know how close her daddy came to walking out without medicine because shame was heavier than sickness. But she was here, healthy, happy, because someone decided $8 mattered more than fear. Thank you, Ryan whispered. Daniel handed Emma back. No, thank you, all of you. I don't know how to repay this. Victor walked over. You already did, brother. You showed up when it mattered. That's all we ask. As the sun set behind the buildings, 500 bikers gathered around the new foundation. Someone brought out food. Someone else brought music. They celebrated like family, like brothers. And for the first time in 13 years, Daniel Harper wasn't alone. The town watched from a distance, some with admiration, some with shame, because they were seeing something they'd forgotten how to do. take care of each other. That night, Daniel didn't sleep behind a dumpster. The bikers had set up tents on the construction lot, warm sleeping bags, heaters. Daniel had his own tent, his own space. Luke stayed in the tent next to him. Before bed, Luke came over. Dad, yeah, I love you. I should have said it 13 years ago, but I'm saying it now. Daniel pulled his son into a hug. I love you too, son. Always have. Always will. They held each other while the sound of 500 motorcycles hummed in the distance like a lullaby. And Daniel Harper fell asleep knowing tomorrow would bring more work, more challenges, more rebuilding. But he wouldn't face it alone, not anymore. Daniel woke at dawn to the sound of hammers. The bikers were already working. He unzipped his tent and stepped out into the cold morning air. His breath came out in clouds. His body ached in places he'd forgotten existed. But it was a good ache, the kind that came from honest work. Luke was already up helping frame the first wall. He saw Daniel and waved. Daniel waved back and felt something warm spread through his chest. His son was here. Really here. After 13 years of silence, Luke had come home. Victor walked over with 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Daniel. Sleep okay? Better than I have in years. Good, because today's going to be harder than yesterday. How so? Victor nodded toward the street. Company's coming. Daniel turned. A black Mercedes pulled up to the construction site. The door opened and Marcus Hale stepped out. He looked like he hadn't slept. His suit was wrinkled. His eyes were red, but his jaw was set hard. Marcus walked straight toward Daniel. Several bikers moved to intercept, but Victor raised his hand. Let him through. Marcus stopped 5 feet from Daniel. For a long moment, neither man spoke. The entire construction site went quiet. Everyone was watching. You happy now, Marcus said. His voice was tight, controlled. You've got your little army, your viral video, your second chance. Must feel good. I didn't ask for any of this, Daniel said. No, you just played the victim so well everyone came running. Poor Daniel Harper, so noble, so broken. It's pathetic. Luke stepped forward. You need to leave. Marcus looked at him. And who are you? I'm his son. Ah, the prodigal son returns. How touching. Marcus turned back to Daniel. You think those documents that woman has will hurt me? They won't. I have lawyers. I have connections. I'll bury this just like I buried you. Victor stepped between them. That's enough. Stay out of this, biker. This is between me and Harper. Wrong. Harper's one of us now, which means you're talking to all of us. Marcus laughed. It was a bitter sound. You think I'm scared of a bunch of thugs on motorcycles? I own this town. I've owned it for 20 years. One homeless man and his biker friends aren't going to change that. Daniel's hands clenched into fists. You destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life by being careless. I just helped the truth come out. That's a lie and you know it. Prove it. Janet Pierce already did. Marcus smiled. Janet Pierce is a senile old woman with an axe to grind. Nobody's going to believe her. The documents can be discredited, disputed, made to disappear. You think this is the first time I've cleaned up a mess I've been doing this longer than you've been breathing? The rage that Daniel had been holding back for 13 years exploded. He lunged at Marcus. Victor caught him. Luke grabbed his other arm. They held him back while Marcus stood there smiling. There it is, Marcus said. The real Daniel Harper. Violent, unstable. This is who you've been all along. Get out of here, Victor growled, before I let him go. Marcus straightened his jacket. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Enjoy your little construction project while it lasts. Because I promise you, Harper, I will burn this to the ground just like I burned everything else you ever had. He walked back to his car and drove away. Daniel was shaking, not from fear, from pure fury. Victor and Luke released him slowly. You okay? Luke asked. No, I'm not okay. That man took everything from me and he's standing there acting like he won. He didn't win, Victor said. He's scared. That's why he came here. Scared men do stupid things. He's right, though. He has power, money, connections. What do we have? Victor looked around at the 500 bikers working on the construction site. We have this, and sometimes that's enough. But Daniel wasn't sure. Marcus Hale had destroyed him once with nothing but rumors and money. What would stop him from doing it again? By 8 a.m., the town council called an emergency meeting. Daniel received a notice delivered by a nervous-looking clerk. He was required to appear at noon to discuss the construction project. "They're coming after us," Daniel said. Victor read the notice. "Expected. They want to shut this down. They can try." At noon, Daniel, Victor, Ryan, and Luke walked into the town hall. The council chambers were packed. Every seat was filled. News cameras lined the back wall. The whole country was watching. Mayor Edward Finch sat at the center of the council table. Next to him were the 4 council members. And sitting in the front row wearing an expensive suit and a smug expression was Marcus Hale. "This meeting will come to order," Edward said. "We're here to discuss the construction project currently underway on the old Harper construction lot." "What's to discuss?" Daniel said. "It's my property. I have permits. Everything's legal." Council member Patricia Brooks spoke up. She was 70, sharp-eyed, and had never liked Daniel even before the fire. "The issue, Mr. Harper, is the manner in which this construction is being conducted. You have hundreds of unlicensed workers, no proper insurance documentation, and you're creating a public disturbance." "Those workers are volunteers," Victor said. "They're helping rebuild a business that was wrongfully destroyed." "That's your opinion," Patricia said. "The fire marshal's report was clear. Harper Construction was negligent." "That report was falsified," Daniel said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Marcus Hale paid the fire marshal to blame me. Janet Pierce has proof." The room erupted, people shouting, cameras flashing. Marcus stood up. "That's slander," Marcus said loudly. "I will sue you for every penny you don't have." "Then sue me," Daniel shot back, "because it's the truth." Edward banged his gavel. "Order, everyone, calm down." The room slowly quieted. Edward looked tired, old, like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Mr. Harper, do you have concrete evidence of these accusations?" "Janet Pierce has the original fire marshal's report before it was altered." "And where is this report?" "I have it," a voice said from the back. Everyone turned. Janet Pierce stood up. She was holding a folder. She walked down the aisle and placed it on the council table. "This is the original report," Janet said. "Before Marcus Hale paid Fire Marshal Thompson $5,000 to change it. I have the receipts, the original findings, and a sworn statement from Marshal Thompson's widow who found evidence of the bribe after he died last year." The room went silent. You could hear people breathing. Patricia picked up the folder and read. Her face went pale. She passed it to the council member next to her. Then the next. Then Edward. Edward read for a long time. Then he looked at Marcus. "Is this true?" Marcus's face was red. "That's a forgery, a desperate attempt by a washed-up contractor to salvage his reputation." "The widow's statement is notarized," Janet said. "Marshal Thompson confessed to her before he died. He told her he couldn't live with the guilt anymore. She's been holding on to this evidence, waiting for the right time. When she saw Daniel's story on the news, she contacted me." "This is ridiculous," Marcus said, but his voice was shaking now. Edward stood up. "This meeting is adjourned. Marcus, I suggest you get a lawyer, a good one." "You can't be serious." "I'm very serious. If what's in these documents is true, you're facing criminal charges, and I will personally make sure the district attorney sees every page." Marcus looked around the room at the cameras, at the people, at Daniel. His empire was crumbling in real time, and everyone could see it. He walked out without another word. The chamber erupted in noise. People were shouting questions. Reporters were rushing toward Daniel. But all Daniel could do was stand there trying to process what had just happened. Justice, after 13 years. Justice was finally coming. Luke grabbed him. "Dad, we did it." "No," Daniel said. "We didn't do anything. Janet did, and Marshal Thompson's widow. They did this." Victor clapped him on the back. "Take the win, brother. You earned it." But Daniel didn't feel like he'd won anything. He felt exhausted, drained, like he'd been carrying a weight for so long that now that it was gone, he didn't know how to stand up straight. Outside the town hall, reporters swarmed them. Microphones, questions, cameras. Daniel answered what he could. Victor handled the rest. They made it back to the construction site by 2 p.m. The bikers had made incredible progress. The frame was going up. Walls were taking shape. It was starting to look like a building again. Daniel walked through it all like a ghost. People congratulated him. patted his back, told him they knew the truth would come out, but Daniel barely heard them. Luke found him sitting alone near the back of the lot. "You okay?" "I should be happy." "But you're not." "I don't know what I am." Daniel looked at his son. "For 13 years, I told myself that if people just knew the truth, everything would be okay. But now they know. And I still lost 13 years. I still slept on streets. I still lost your mother. I still lost you. You didn't lose me. I'm right here. But I did lose you for 13 years, and I can't get that back. Nobody can give me that back." Luke sat down next to him. "You're right. You can't get it back. But we can start over, build something new. Isn't that what you're doing here, building something new?" Daniel looked at the construction site, at the frame rising from the foundation, at the bikers working like family, at his son sitting next to him. "Yeah," Daniel said quietly. "I guess we are." That evening, a woman Daniel didn't recognize showed up at the site. She was in her early 50s, well-dressed, carrying a briefcase. "Mr. Harper." "Yes." "My name is Catherine Moreno. I'm an attorney with the state's district attorney's office. I'd like to talk to you about pressing charges against Marcus Hale." Daniel's stomach dropped. Pressing charges. Yes. Based on the evidence provided by Janet Pierce and the statement from Marshall Thompson's widow, we have grounds for fraud, conspiracy, and possibly racketeering, but we need your cooperation. "What does that mean?" "It means testimony, depositions, possibly a trial. This could take months, maybe years. Are you willing to see this through?" Daniel looked at Victor. Victor nodded. "Your call, brother." Daniel turned back to Catherine. "What happens to Marcus if I do this?" "If we can prove everything he's looking at, significant prison time, 5 to 10 years minimum." Daniel thought about Marcus standing in this very spot earlier that morning, threatening him, promising to burn everything down again. The same man who'd taken his business, his reputation, his family. "Yes," Daniel said, "I'll do it." Catherine smiled. "Good, we'll be in touch." She handed him her card and left. That night, the bikers threw a celebration. Food, music, laughter. Daniel tried to join in, but his heart wasn't in it. He kept thinking about what came next. The legal battles, the testimony, having to relive the worst moments of his life in front of strangers. Ryan noticed. "You look like you're at a funeral instead of a party." "Just thinking about Marcus, about everything." Ryan sat down next to him. "Can I tell you something? When I walked into that gas station 2 nights ago, I was ready to quit. Not just on buying formula, on everything. I was tired of people looking at me like I was dangerous. Tired of being judged for my vest, my patches, my brothers. I was tired of fighting." He paused. "Then you walked up and put your money down. And you didn't look at me like I was a threat. You looked at me like I was a father who needed help. And something inside me changed." Daniel listened. "I went home that night and decided I wasn't going to quit anymore. On anything. My daughter, my wife, my brothers, myself, because if a homeless man could give his last $8 to help a stranger, then I could damn sure fight for the people I love." Ryan looked at Daniel. "You saved more than my pride that night. You saved my life." Daniel's throat tightened. "I didn't know." "I know. That's what makes it matter. You didn't help me because you wanted something. You helped me because it was right. And that's the kind of man people follow. That's the kind of man people fight for." He stood up and walked back to the celebration. Daniel sat there alone, watching his son laugh, with bikers, watching Victor tell stories, watching 500 people who'd come from across the country to help a stranger. And for the first time, Daniel let himself believe that maybe he did matter. Maybe he always had. The next morning, Daniel woke to the sound of voices arguing. He unzipped his tent and saw Luke standing toe-to-toe with a woman Daniel thought he'd never see again. Marie Harper, his ex-wife, stood on the edge of the construction site looking exactly like she had 13 years ago. Same hair, same posture, same cold eyes. "I'm not leaving until I talk to him," Marie said. "He doesn't want to see you," Luke said. "That's not your decision to make." Daniel walked over. "It's okay, Luke." Luke stepped aside reluctantly. Marie looked at Daniel and something flickered across her face. Surprise, maybe? Or shame? "Hello, Daniel." "Marie, you look different. 13 years will do that." She flinched. I saw the news. I saw what happened at the town hall. I needed to see you. Why, ma'am? Because I owe you an apology. Daniel laughed. It was a harsh sound. 13 years later, and now you want to apologize. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. You're right, you don't. Marie's eyes filled with tears. I was wrong, Daniel, about everything. I believed the lies. I walked away when you needed me most. I took Luke from you. I destroyed what was left of our family because I was scared and selfish and weak. Why are you telling me this now? Because watching that video of you giving your last money to a stranger made me realize something. You never changed. You were always that man, the one who helped people, who did the right thing even when it cost you everything. And I left him. I left the best man I ever knew because I cared more about what people thought than about what was true. Daniel's hands were shaking. You left me with nothing. Marie, nothing. I know. You took my son. You made him hate me. I know. You let me sleep on streets while you built a new life like I never existed. I know, Marie was crying now. And I have to live with that every day. But I'm here now because I need you to know that I was wrong. You didn't deserve what happened to you. Any of it. You were a good man then, and you're a good man now, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Daniel stood there looking at the woman he'd once loved more than anything. The woman who'd given him a son. The woman who'd abandoned him when he needed her most. I don't know what you want me to say, Daniel said quietly. I don't want you to say anything. I just needed you to hear it. You deserve better. From me, from this town, from everyone. She turned to leave. Daniel watched her go. Then Luke called out, Mom. Marie stopped. Luke walked over to her. He forgave me. Maybe someday he'll forgive you too. But you're going to have to earn it, the way I'm earning it now. Marie nodded. I know. She got in her car and drove away. Luke stood next to Daniel. You okay? I don't know. Do you think you'll ever forgive her? Daniel thought about that. About 13 years of anger and hurt and betrayal. About sleeping in the cold and eating from trash cans while his wife moved on with her life. Maybe, Daniel said. Someday, but not today. Luke put his arm around his father's shoulder. That's fair. They walked back to the construction site together. The building was taking shape. Walls were up. The roof frame was starting. In 2 more days, it would be complete. Harper construction was rising again. And this time, Daniel wasn't building it alone. 3 days later, the building was finished. Not completely, not perfectly, but the bones were there. Walls, roof, windows, a door with a sign that read, Harper and Sons Construction. Daniel stood in front of it at sunrise with Luke beside him. Neither of them spoke. They just looked at what 500 strangers had built in less than a week. You thinking about adding my name to that sign? Luke asked quietly. Daniel turned to him. You want your name on it? I want to earn it first. You already have. Luke shook his head. I abandoned you for 13 years, Dad. I don't deserve to have my name next to yours yet. But I'm going to, one day. I promise. Daniel pulled his son into a hug. You're already more of a man than I was at your age. That's not true. It is, and I'm proud of you. They stood there holding each other while the sun came up over the building. Behind them, the bikers were packing up. Most of them were leaving today, heading back to Arizona, New Mexico, Louisiana, back to their lives. Victor walked over. Building's done, permits are filed. You're official again. I don't know how to thank you, Daniel said. You already did. That night in the gas station. Everything after that was just us returning the favor. It was a lot more than $8 worth of favor. Victor smiled. Brotherhood doesn't work on transactions, Daniel. It works on respect. You gave Ryan respect when nobody else would. That's worth more than any building. Ryan appeared with Emma in his arms. The baby was smiling, healthy, happy. We're heading out, Ryan said. Got a long ride back to Tucson. Daniel reached out and touched Emma's hand. She grabbed his finger and squeezed. You take care of your daddy, little one. Ryan's eyes were wet. If you ever need anything, you call me, day or night. I'll be here. Same goes for you. They shook hands. Then Ryan surprised Daniel by pulling him into a hug. You changed my life, brother. I won't forget it. Neither will I. One by one, the bikers said their goodbyes. They shook Daniel's hand, hugged Luke, promised to come back for the grand opening. By 10 a.m., the parking lot was emptying out, motorcycles rumbling away in groups. The sound echoed through the town like thunder rolling away after a storm. By noon, only Victor remained. "You're not leaving?" Daniel asked. "Not yet. Got some business to finish first." "What business?" Victor pulled out his phone and showed Daniel a news article. The headline read, "Marcus Hale arrested on fraud and conspiracy charges." Daniel's breath caught. When did this happen? This morning. District Attorney moved fast. They raided his office at dawn, found evidence of more than just the fire marshal bribe. Apparently, Marcus has been running illegal schemes for years, skimming money from city contracts, bribing inspectors. Your case opened the door, and they found a whole lot more behind it. Daniel sat down on a stack of lumber. He's really going to prison. Looking like it. His bail hearing's set for Monday. But with the amount of evidence they have, he's not getting out anytime soon. Luke walked over. "Is it wrong that I'm happy about this?" "No," Victor said. "It's called justice. Nothing wrong with being happy about justice." But Daniel didn't feel happy. He felt hollow, empty, like he'd been holding on to anger for so long that now that it was gone, there was nothing left to fill the space. "You okay?" Victor asked. "I spent 13 years hating that man, blaming him for everything. And now that he's getting what he deserves, I just feel tired. That's normal. Revenge doesn't fix what got broken. It just closes the door so you can move forward." "How do I move forward?" Victor looked at the building. "You already are, one wall at a time." That afternoon, Daniel walked through the empty building, his building. He ran his hands along the walls, checked the corners, tested the windows. It was solid work, good work, the kind of work he used to do before the world fell apart. His phone rang, unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Hello, Mr. Harper, this is Catherine Moreno from the DA's office. I wanted to give you an update. Marcus Hale's bail was denied. He's being held pending trial, and based on what we found, we're confident we can secure a conviction." Daniel's throat tightened. "How long will he go away for?" "Minimum 10 years, possibly more if we can prove the extent of his schemes. He destroyed a lot of lives, Mr. Harper. Not just yours. I don't want revenge. This isn't revenge, it's accountability. There's a difference." After she hung up, Daniel stood in the middle of the empty building and cried. Not from sadness, not from relief, but from something deeper. Something that felt like a wound finally starting to heal. Luke found him there. "Dad, I'm okay." "You don't look okay." Daniel wiped his face. "Marcus is going to prison. 10 years minimum." Luke was quiet. Then he said, "Does that make you feel better?" "No, but it makes me feel like maybe the world still works the way it's supposed to. That bad things don't just get to win forever." "They don't. We're proof of that." They walked out together into the afternoon sun. The town looked different now. Or maybe Daniel looked at it differently. People waved at him from their cars. Strangers stopped to shake his hand. The same town that had ignored him for 13 years was treating him like he mattered. It felt strange, uncomfortable, like wearing clothes that didn't quite fit. By evening, Daniel was exhausted. Victor had left an hour ago. The construction site was quiet. Just Daniel and Luke sitting on the tailgate of a borrowed truck eating sandwiches from Rosie's Diner. "What happens now?" Luke asked. "We start taking jobs, small ones at first, build up a reputation again. You think people will hire us?" "I think after the week we just had, people will hire us just to say they did. But we have to prove we're worth hiring for the work, not the story." Luke nodded. "I can live with that." They sat in comfortable silence. Then Luke said, "I'm sorry I wasn't there for all those years." "You already apologized." "I know, but I need to keep saying it until I believe you've forgiven me." Daniel looked at his son. "Luke, I forgave you the moment you showed up. The rest is just time. And we've got plenty of that now." That night, Daniel didn't sleep in a tent. Victor had arranged for Daniel to rent a small apartment above a hardware store downtown. One room, a bed, a bathroom, a small kitchen. It wasn't much, but it was warm, and it was his. Daniel lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. He couldn't sleep. His mind wouldn't stop. 13 years of memories playing on repeat. The fire, the accusations, the bankruptcy, Marie leaving, Luke's anger, the streets, the cold, the hunger, the invisibility, and then the gas station. $8, Ryan Cole, the video, the bikers, the building, justice, his son. It felt like two different lives, before and after. And Harper was somewhere in between trying to figure out which version of himself was real. The next morning, a knock on his door woke him at 7 a.m. Daniel opened it to find an older man standing in the hallway. He was maybe 75. White hair, work-worn hands, kind eyes. "Can I help you?" Daniel asked. "My name's Robert Chen. I'm the one who sent you $500 after I saw your video." Daniel's eyes widened. "You didn't have to come all the way here." "Actually, I did. Can I come in?" Daniel stepped aside. Robert walked in and looked around the small apartment. "This is good. You got a roof, bed. That's more than a lot of veterans have. You said you were a Marine. 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, did 2 tours in Vietnam, came home in '71 to a country that hated me for serving. Spent 5 years on the streets before I got my life together." Daniel sat down. "I didn't know. Most people don't. That's the problem. We see homeless veterans and we think they're lazy or broken or gave up. We don't see what the world did to them before they ended up on the street." Robert pulled out a worn photograph from his wallet, a young Marine in uniform. "That's me, 22 years old. Thought I was invincible. Thought I'd come home a hero." "What happened?" "Reality, PTSD before they had a name for it. Nightmares, flashbacks, couldn't hold it well. Couldn't hold a relationship, lost in everything. Ended up in LA living under a bridge with 30 other vets who'd been thrown away like trash." "How'd you get out?" Robert smiled. "A social worker named Maria Torres. She didn't give up on me even when I'd given up on myself. Helped me get into a program, get clean, get therapy, find work. She saved my life, and I've spent the last 40 years trying to do the same for other veterans." He pulled out a business card and handed it to Daniel. "I run a nonprofit in San Diego. We help homeless veterans get housing, job training, medical care. I came here because I want to offer you a partnership." Daniel frowned. "What kind of partnership?" "Harper Construction hires homeless veterans, trains them, gives them real jobs with real pay. My nonprofit connects you with veterans who need work. We provide funding for training programs. You provide the opportunity." Daniel's hands started shaking. "I'm just getting back on my feet. I don't know if I can." "You can, because you've been where they are. You know what it's like to be invisible, to be judged, to be thrown away. That makes you the perfect person to help them." Robert leaned forward. "Daniel, you gave your last $8 to help a stranger. Imagine what you could do with real resources, real support. You could change lives." Daniel looked at the business card, then at Robert. "Why me?" "Because men like us understand something most people don't. Everyone deserves a second chance. Not because they earned it, but because they're human, and humanity should be enough." Tears ran down Daniel's face. "I don't know if I'm strong enough for this." "You are. You've already proven it." Daniel nodded slowly. "Okay, let's do it." Robert smiled. "Good, we'll start small, 5 veterans. Training program begins in 2 weeks. I'll handle the logistics. You handle the teaching." They shook hands. After Robert left, Daniel sat in his apartment trying to process what had just happened. He'd gone from homeless to business owner to veteran advocate in less than a week. It didn't feel real, but it was real, and it was just beginning. Over the next month, Harper & Sons Construction took its first jobs. Small residential projects, deck repairs, fence installations, room additions. The work was honest, the pay was fair, and Daniel made sure Luke learned every aspect of the business. The 5 veterans Robert sent arrived on a Monday morning, 3 men and 2 women, all between 30 and 50, all homeless, all carrying wounds that couldn't be seen. Daniel gathered them in the shop. "I'm not going to pretend I know your stories, but I know what it's like to have nothing, to be invisible, to wonder if you'll ever matter again. You're here because someone decided you're worth investing in. I'm here to teach you a trade. What you do with it after that is up to you." One of the men, a veteran named Marcus Williams, no relation to Marcus Hale, raised his hand. "Why should we trust you?" "Because I was sleeping behind a dumpster 3 weeks ago. Because I know what rock bottom looks like. And because I'm not asking you to trust me, I'm asking you to trust yourself." They started the next day. Daniel taught them foundation work, framing, electrical basics, plumbing. Luke handled the newer techniques, power tools, safety protocols, modern building codes. The veterans worked hard. Some days were better than others. One woman, Sarah Mitchell, had panic attacks when too many people talked at once. One man, James Rodriguez, couldn't be around loud noises without breaking down. But they showed up every day, and Daniel made sure they had what they needed. By the end of the first month, they'd completed their training. 4 of them got jobs with other construction companies. One stayed with Harper and Sons. Robert called Daniel. "You did good work." "They did the work. I just showed them how." That's exactly what they needed. "Are you ready for 5 more?" Daniel looked at Luke. Luke nodded. "Send them," Daniel said. 6 months passed. Harper and Sons construction was thriving. They had a full crew of 12 people. 8 were veterans who'd gone through Daniel's program. The work was steady. The reputation was growing. And every Friday night, Daniel hosted a free meal at the shop for anyone who needed it. The bikers kept their promise. They came back every few months. Victor, Ryan, others. They'd help with big projects, share meals, tell stories. They'd become family. Luke had earned his place. He ran the day-to-day operations while Daniel focused on training veterans. The sign out front had been updated. Harper and Sons Construction Building lives, not just buildings. One evening, Daniel was locking up the shop when a car pulled into the lot. A woman got out. She was in her 40s, professional, carrying herself like someone used to being in charge. "Mr. Harper." "Yes." "My name is Jennifer Carr. I'm a producer with 60 Minutes. We'd like to do a story about what you've built here. Not just the business, the program, the veterans, the impact." Daniel sighed. "I appreciate the offer, but I'm not interested in being on TV. This isn't about making you famous. It's about showing people that second chances are possible, that communities can come together, that one person's kindness can start a movement." "It wasn't a movement. It was $8. Jennifer smiled. "That's exactly why people need to hear this story, because it started with something small, something anyone could do, and it changed everything." Daniel thought about Robert Chen, about the 500 bikers who'd come to rebuild his life, about the veterans he was training, about Luke standing next to him again. "Okay," Daniel said, "but on one condition. You tell their stories too, the veterans, the bikers, Robert, Janet Pierce, all of them. This isn't my story, it's theirs." Deal. The 60 Minutes piece aired 3 months later. It showed Daniel training veterans, showed Luke running the business, showed Victor and the bikers visiting, showed Robert Chen's nonprofit, showed the ripple effect of one small act of kindness. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured into Robert's nonprofit. Other construction companies started veteran training programs. Towns across America reached out asking how to replicate the model. But Daniel didn't change. He still showed up at 6 a.m. every day, still taught veterans how to frame walls and pour concrete, still hosted Friday night meals, still remembered what it felt like to be invisible. 1 year after the gas station, Daniel stood at the grand opening of the Harper Veterans Training Center. It was a new building next to the construction shop, funded by donations, designed to train 50 veterans at a time. The whole town showed up. The mayor gave a speech. Victor and 200 bikers rode in for the ceremony. Robert Chen cut the ribbon, and Daniel stood in the back watching it all, still not quite believing it was real. Luke found him. "You okay?" "Just thinking about how it all started." $8. $8. They stood together watching veterans walk into the new building, starting their training, beginning their second chances. That night, Daniel drove to the stop-and-go gas station where everything had changed. He walked inside. Tommy was still working the register. "Hey, Mr. Harper," Tommy said. "Haven't seen you in a while." "Been busy. I saw the 60 Minutes thing. That was incredible." Daniel pulled out his wallet and placed $8 on the counter. "This is for you." Tommy frowned. "For what?" "You let Ryan take that formula even though you could have gotten in trouble. You did the right thing when it mattered. I never thanked you for that." Tommy's eyes welled up. "Mr. Harper, I don't need—" "I know, but take it anyway. Because sometimes $8 means more than money. Sometimes it means someone saw you. Someone noticed. Someone cares." Tommy took the money with shaking hands. "Thank you." Daniel walked out into the cold night air. His truck was warm. His apartment was waiting. His son was in his life. His business was thriving. Veterans were getting second chances. And somewhere in America, someone was about to make a choice: to help or to look away, to give or to keep, to see or to ignore. Daniel hoped they'd choose to give, not because it would make them a hero, not because they'd get recognition, but because everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves dignity. Everyone deserves a second chance. He drove home thinking about the man he'd been a year ago: broken, homeless, invisible, and the man he was now. Not because he'd become someone different, but because people had chosen to see him when it mattered most. $8 had buried baby formula that night, but it had also bought something much more valuable. It had bought back Daniel Harper's belief that the world still had good people in it, that small acts still mattered, that one person could make a difference. And in the end, that was worth more than any amount of money could ever buy.